So it turns out there are more games out there than SWTOR. Oh, we've been playing SWTOR and we'll talk about that, but we've been dying to talk about some other stuff too, so we're going to try that out tonight. That and more on this episode of the New Overlords SWTOR Escape podcast. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 476. And with me is a graduate of the old schools and new schools of gaming, Seema. Hello there, Seema.
Hey, hello everyone.
Notice I did
And
not...
Jeff.
and I did not ask Seema what she's been doing because we're going to talk about that later. We're going to do things a little bit differently. First, we're going to get into the news. And it's going to be news about SWTOR, which is a little bit, and a news about a couple other headlines that we see out there in the games industry. And then we're going to be talking about what we've been playing. And one of the things we've been playing that we'll definitely talk about is Star Wars: The Old Republic. But you can look forward to hearing us talk about a couple other things, including Palia, Baldur's Gate, and a few others. So and more. But first, let's hear about some news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
Game news. So, Star Wars: The Old Republic news. Back in June, on June 20th, we heard from Keith that said you can expect 7.3.1 towards the end of summer, with the story continuing as 7.4 on its heels as we enter the holidays. So that's what we're patiently waiting for right now. That has not happened just yet. We hope for that to happen relatively soon. But that's been the key thing that we've been waiting for. The closest that we've gotten so far is that it sounds like any moment we are going to get an announcement on the next Galactic season. So Jackie teased that. I didn't check this afternoon. She didn't update that in the news.
No, I did. I didn't see an update, but
okay.
Yeah.
So she teased it.
Yeah, her update was basically info coming very soon. And you brought up 7.3.1, and Galactic Season 5 is supposed to be part of that. So so end of summer is about on track for what they say they want, what they have been saying they want to have as amount of time between the end of one and the beginning of the next Galactic seasons.
But end of summer, I mean, if you want to go by the solar calendar, is a month from now at the most.
Right.
So we shall see if they make that deadline, but I'm hoping they do.
I mean, but that's about right? Because we're in the last week of Galactic Season 4, and then that'll give us a month or 5 weeks, or when they announce it might be a couple weeks from then or whatever. So
so we'll see. I haven't seen PTS stuff, but they might not do a PTS for 7.3.1. For 7.4, as it's a little bit bigger, I would hope that there's a PTS just because that would be fun for us, but we'll see. So that is what we are waiting patiently for. While we wait, though, we do have some other stuff. Did I take your news item?
That's fine. You just mushed two of them together.
I thought
so
I'll just put it in there.
But if you're in the game right now, you can be doing nightlife stuff.
Yes, because that's still going on.
Nightlife is still.
Oh, it's not going on for much longer.
Is that still going on? August 22.
Okay.
Still, right. Week and a half, 2 weeks.
So get in there, get your tokens. Make sure you're DMing me every time you get a companion that I don't have, because I love that.
You could also be working on getting your achievement for the very tiny Muvor.
Yes.
The very tiny Marvor, but when you get it, which I got it this morning, it's called Flameshell Muvor, which I think Mew is like the kitten version of the name.
Got it.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it was actually a pretty cool thing to be working on it for a while and then actually finish it. So I'm glad I did it.
Cool. Why don't you take the next one? We did mention this game in the pre-show. We were talking about it. We won't get into what we've done in it so far. Maybe we'll do that in a future week. But I wanted to throw the news item in since we've been talking about Coreborn on the side and in our Discord.
So Coreborn, which we played with a small group of people, some more avidly than others. They're in early access, or there will be they're in early access. So they're having a series of patches, and one of them's supposed to go in yesterday.
Yeah. And it went in. and it added a couple things, fixed a couple things, and they're continuing to do development, and you get to sort of see that as you go. The
Right,
thing
and you're in really early at the game. Like when we first went, it was, you know, not even everything was in the terrain. I mean, it's very early. So if you like
right,
that, and it's a good game too.
and you need to like that for this kind of game. And I'd like to set these games, these kinds of games aside when I think about them, talk about them. I really get a kick out of getting in early, seeing alphas, watching the development go along, and the Corborn team, Blank Hands, and they're very open with development. They do dev streams where they're showing you some of the technical aspects of development and showing you gray box models and what they're updating, what they've updated in the past month, and that kind of thing. I really like that. If you're looking for a complete game and you don't want to invest time in anything that isn't sort of like finished, done, and ready to go, well, then
Right.
that's not your kind of thing. There's a
Yeah.
lot of those out there that are. Um,
And
but
with Corborn, your feedback really counts.
yes, another one. Another bit of news, just because this is something that I am super, super hyped about, is Starfield. I am so unreasonably hyped about Starfield. It's unhealthy. uh, so a couple things about Starfield. Starfield will be going into launch on September 6th, so that's less than a month from now. It will be going into early access up to 5 days before. So on the 31st of August or September 1st, those two dates have been thrown out there. There's different ways to get it. One interesting thing, though, just to make sure to lead with, is they've scheduled another dev Q&A in their official Discord next week on the 16th. So next Wednesday. That's really cool. I loved their 1 hour talk as part of the sort of the Xbox Games launch when they did the deep dive. I watched it 2 times all the way through, and my daughter was joking with me because I like to show her different games. I'm like, "Hey, you got to see about this game," and she's like, "You're not going to make me sit through the 1 hour Starfield thing again, are you?" She should have said that to me in the car yesterday, which was pretty hilarious. But that's coming on September 6th. You do have to upgrade and pre-order the premium edition if you want to be in on the early access. Sure, there's pros and cons, and there's reason for criticism if you want to think about it like that. That's a little harsh for them to do that. I don't mind it too much. Being able to set thresholds is useful to a game company and trying to have a solid release so that they can make sure that the download servers of getting the game out there and the patches and maybe getting a couple early patches in those first 5 days done with fewer people, only the people that have paid for the premium edition. You got to try to either limit that somehow. You can't just open it up to anybody if you want to make use of it that way. Maybe that's not the only reason. Maybe they're doing it for money, and then we can feel bad about that. But I have that's a whole other rant that I'm happy to get into, where with games costing hundreds of millions of dollars to produce, these game companies, I don't like dark patterns, but a pretty light pattern like this, where it's completely transparent what it is and why you're doing it, and it's giving them some extra money. I don't think that's out of the question. The one
I mean,
other
that is one of the things they have to come up with ways to make money.
Yeah, and people are going to talk about Larian and Baldur's Gate 3 and how they're doing it right because they don't have any microtransactions, they don't have any of that kind of that kind of business, and that's completely true. And if Larian can get away with it, then great. How you get investors to go on a 6-year journey with you with no return on investment of any of their money for 6 years, and for you to tell them, no, we're not going to do anything to try to recover your money more quickly, like microtransactions or premium access or pre-orders. Okay, if you can if you can manage that, then brilliant. I don't think many people can manage that these days. Again, we got
Well,
leaks from Sony that said Horizon Forbidden West cost $200 million to make. $200 million. That's not pocket change.
No, no, it isn't. But I bet like the Far Cry games are in that
Mm-hmm. I bet a lot of
ballpark.
these are. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Last of Us Part 2 was $200 million. I mean, it was another Sony leak. That's what these games.
I met a guy who's a big fan of Star Citizen, and he has spent thousands of dollars on it personally as a consumer.
Well, and Star Citizen, that's a good topic for a future update. They've been doing it for 10 years and have brought
Yeah.
in $500 million in funding, mostly through
I did not know that number.
pre-orders and purchases. Yes.
Yeah, that's what he's been. Yeah, he purchases stuff, right?
Yeah. One last thing, which I'm still debating between in buying or pre-ordering Starfield, is there's 3 ways to get it. There's 3 versions. There's the regular version, the premium version, and then the Constellation version, which I kind of really want, but I don't think I will because it comes with the watch and the box. And I would look at it and I would touch it and then I would put it on a shelf and never touch it again.
And then you bring it out and put it on your desk in another 10 years when you're doing.
Or I would put it on the desk for the pod. Maybe I can justify it as a podcast expense coming out of our zero revenue. But
Right.
it is so cool. Even the box that the watch comes in, it's modeled off of NASA. I should bring it up on the screen, but anyway, it is. Oh, I think I have a link to it right here. But anyway, so there's these 3 versions. I actually think the Constellation version is sold out. In a lot of ways, you might not even be able to get it anymore. But in addition to those 3 versions, there's 3 places to buy it. One is you can wait for it to come on Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, which is excellent. And then if you're a Game Pass subscriber, so Corley's saying doesn't even think it's available anymore. Well, that solves it for me. I don't need to pay the extra hundreds of dollars to have a thing to put on the shelf. I'll 3D print my own replica for fun. But you can wait for it to come to Game Pass, and which is a really cool option. And this is part of Microsoft owning Bethesda these days. You can buy it from the Xbox Store. Here's the benefit to buying it from the Xbox Store. You get it as Xbox and Windows PC cross-play, play anywhere, and cross-save. So that is kind of cool. I don't play many games on my Xbox, but having the option to switch between my PC and my Xbox and go back and forth and have it saved in the cloud, that's kind of cool. However, the third option is to buy it on Steam. And if you buy it on Steam, then you can also potentially play it on your Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got a dilemma, and I got to work it out in the next 2 weeks or so I can get in on the early
I'd
access.
say go with Steam.
I'm probably going to go with Steam. And then as we were talking about in the Discord, if things get really crazy, I might end up buying it in 2 places, which would be a
You know who
crapshoot.
else is getting on the Steam boat? Steam train?
Steamboat. Yes. Who's getting on the steamboat?
Blizzard.
Blizzard is. That is a good news item. Why don't you explain that news item?
Well, I mean, just they're putting their game Overwatch 2 on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And the comment they made about it from Mike Ybarra, who's one of the, 3-letter people at Blizzard, he said, we've been working on our launcher, for years and improving it. But while we've been doing that, the, games have also been improving and other things have been improving. So we are putting Overwatch 2 on Steam with a view to putting, other games on Steam.
Yep. That is pretty interesting that they're doing that. Overwatch is the first one that they're putting up there. So
It's
there's
Overwatch 2, which I don't really know what that is versus regular Overwatch.
There is no regular Overwatch anymore.
Oh,
So
okay.
Overwatch 2 is Overwatch. In fact, Overwatch 1 it sort of evolved into Overwatch 2. And that's not even its final form. But it became Overwatch 2. That actually made a lot of people upset, and people like to downvote Overwatch 2 as a result because they didn't like how it evolved, even though that's a whole nother topic for Another show. See, this is why we should talk about other games once in a while. So yeah, that is interesting. What else do we have in Blizzard news? I wanted to put this one in because I know you are a WoW Classic
Yes,
player.
I am playing WoW Classic, and I'm playing it. Well, we're going to talk about Palia, but my gameplay in WoW Classic is kind of like I imagine what Palia is going for, is sort of a comfort place to be. It's my coffee contemplation time. Blah 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 blah. However, not what we're talking about tonight, which is the WoW Classic Hardcore. It's an official Blizzard offering, hardcore version of WoW Classic, launching this month on the 24th. And what hardcore means is when your character dies, then that's it. No more. There's no rezzing.
Right.
But they do have a wrinkle, though, where while your character's dead, you can transfer off a hardcore server.
Oh,
So, like, if you had if you had put many hours into your character and had fallen in love with them, and then one day you screwed up something and got dead, you're no longer part of the hardcore server. That character is gone. But while you're dead, you can transfer to another non-hardcore server if you want to.
that is nice. That's clever. That's a nice little
And yes, and
addition.
not only that, if you happen to be a guild master, you can transfer the guild to someone while you're dead.
Nice.
I mean, that's really kind of thinking ahead.
So,
Well, I mean, they probably learned stuff like that from the private hardcore realms there are.
right. So what has been going on is amongst the existing classic servers, there were a couple classic servers that used an add-on, either just did it, players were just doing themselves, or used an add-on that sort of like registered your character as a hardcore character, and the add-on would watch, and then the add-on would broadcast to everybody if you died, and you just, you had to do like just honor system to delete your character after that, but it would broadcast, and so that was fun. People were having a lot of fun with that. And Blizzard said, one of the few cases where Blizzard said fun detected and didn't decide to delete it, decided to support it, and adding these kinds of things in where they're tweaking the rule set to make it more fair. Like you can't, like paladins get a little bit nerfed. They can't use their heartstones when they're
But
under shield.
that's similar to how shaman cannot onk up.
Right. So
So it's yeah.
no bubble hearth for paladins. But that I love that idea of, hey, you played hardcore, you did a good job, you died. Let you go ahead and resurrect on a non-hardcore server.
You know what kills me about this too, this duel to the death, is you can actually die in a duel, and that's the end of your character.
Right. Yes. Makara.
That's harsh.
Yeah, you type, and in fact that's how it is. You type /Makara in the chat window, and a pop-up will appear informing players of the challenge to which they both must agree to before combat commences. Permadeath duel to the death duels.
And then the person
Oh, and
who wins gets a buff.
they get a buff, and they get oh no, wait, they get a trophy. They get an ear. Yeah, they do. They get a trophy. They get the ear trophy and then a cosmetic buff, string of ears.
But you know what's interesting when I was reading like different topics in Reddit and WoW forums and stuff about this is even though there are server implemented rules that will take effect, there's still a layer of character rules, like community rules. Like people were saying, of course you won't be able to buy your weapons on the AH. Well, there's no limitation in the game about that, but that's just an understanding among players who go hardcore. We'll see how long that lasts, but I thought that was interesting.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting.
Anyway, so that's this month.
Yeah, that's this month. We'll hold off, but there's a couple other things that I would like. There was a Diablo 4 patch out. I thought that was interesting. And maybe we'll mention, because another thing I'm hyped for in the fall, we'll get into a little bit of Cyberpunk news in the future. Cyberpunk 2077. Phantom Liberty is coming out. Idris Elba, keep an eye out for that.
So Corley's saying ears like in Diablo 1 and 2. I wonder. So
yeah.
Nothing's new, I guess.
PvP in PvP in Diablo 1 and 2, you would, after you killed somebody, would collect their ears. That not in Diablo 4? I thought they brought it back in Diablo 4. I haven't done any PvP in Diablo 4 really. I ran through the zones a couple times and collected some.
I don't want your ear.
I know, it's kind of gross. All right. So as we transition out of the news, and this podcast is brought to you by LA Acta Est, our gaming community, which you can find at aie-guild.org. AIE is a broad community. It's in tons of major MMOs, including Star Wars: The Old Republic. We've got our section in there with guilds on the Imperial and the Republic side. We can get you an invite if you jump in there. Final Fantasy, WoW, ESO, Guild Wars 2, Lotro, Star Trek Online. And then we've got a side section called Nomads where people are playing Diablo and grouping up, Coreborn, Palia. It is a really, really cool community. We encourage you to check it out if you're looking for that kind of thing. LA Act Est, AIE-guild.org, and then our Discord link is right there on the main page. This podcast is also brought to you by all of you. Our chat room here live on Twitch, who we talked to before and after the show, our friends in the YouTube comments, and all the social media feeds, which are multiplying by the day.
Changing daily. Yes.
And especially in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. Join us in all of those places for more good stuff. And now things are really going to get crazy.
Few mortals ever glimpse what you're about to see.
That's right, Seema. We've been doing this for 10 years, and few mortals have ever glimpsed us breaking format and going and talking about other games. As I said, we're going to start with Star Wars: The Old Republic. We're certainly going to talk about that and what we've been doing in there, because I've been in there quite a bit this week. But we're going to get to talk about our time in Palia, my time in Baldur's Gate 3, and I dropped in the pre-show, I mentioned bear sex, and Seema had no idea what I was talking about. So we're going to talk about that in detail. And then a couple of other fun things, like I want to hear about Lego Brick Tales, which Seema has been trying out, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's start with Star Wars: The Old Republic. What have you been doing? Seema, what have you been up to?
Well, I already gave my big news, which is that now I have my flame shell Muvor.
Yes.
So I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm
you
happy.
do.
I kind of like in general, I like things that you work toward and then complete, and then you get something. So there's that. And I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for Galactic Season 5. I've sort of taken a break from Conquest, but I've been doing our normal guild activities, MFN, and our ops team. I did fill in for one of the ops teams earlier in the week, and that was really, really fun. So yeah, it's pretty much for me in SWTOR. I mean, is this where I also talk about what I've been doing in other games?
No, just SWTOR.
Okay. You can edit that out.
Well, no, but we'll go back and forth, because we'll talk about
that's
Palia,
funny,
because you did a little bit of that.
I know you won't.
Yeah, I'll edit that out. Don't worry about it. Yeah, any second now, it's gonna be edited out. Yeah, I mean, we will talk about. Oh, here I got a picture of the Muvor, so people could see it. Malvor, Muvor, glowing mini tiny Muvor pet. That's what Seema finally got this week. I do want to go back and forth
because it's tiny
a little bit. So let's talk about a couple of the major things, and then I do want to hear about, like, if you were doing anything in WoW Classic this week. I think that would be cool to hear about. But one of the other things which we both were doing that maybe we can talk about next is Palia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. How's Palia? All right. So people that don't know, kind of dropped it, didn't I? Because I was fiddling around here with my desktop. I want to sort of have something.
Ogurub is
visual on the
also
screen.
playing Palia.
We're over to the Palia screen now.
Yeah, I see that.
So what is Palia? Palia just went into beta in the last week. So it was a closed beta. It went into open beta today. And the queue times have been sort of blasting out there. But I've been playing it pretty hardcore and it's not a hardcore game. It's a casual, slow-paced game. Of course, I've been doing it hardcore, which you're not supposed to do. So it's a kind of survival, but it's more crafting building. And if you've ever played Stardew Valley, If you could imagine like an MMO, like a lightweight MMO version of Stardew Valley, that's what Palia is. You're building up your little house and farm. You're going out into the world and gathering materials. You're building up your professions. You're building your crafting tables. So there's a little bit of lightweight survival in terms of like the crafting progression. And then just like Stardew Valley, there's a whole townsperson system, which is a big part of the game. I've got a spreadsheet. Should I bring up my spreadsheet of all my?
It's
my
kind of weird.
townspeople?
I know why you're saying survival because you build stuff and craft and you make your own home and all that stuff, but
Yeah, you're right. It's not,
I think it's not really, yeah.
because there's
Because you're
no
never in danger.
there's no health bar. There's no danger. You're never, yeah. So there's no surviving to be done. You do have like a food bar, but the food bar is what we would think of in Star Wars: The Old Republic as a double XP, or like or any MMO like rested XP. That's what your food bar does. So you can make food, and there's a whole cooking mini game system to like make better foods.
Right, like I haven't eaten anything. You don't have to eat. It's like you won't die. But you don't get the benefit of
Oh,
eating.
you haven't eaten anything. Always,
Mm-mm.
always eat. That bar needs to always be full, and you need to go to the Phoenix Shrine, because every 100 renown you invest in the Phoenix Shrine increases that rested multiplier.
I
That
know,
focus
but
multiplier.
that would be,
Again,
hardcore.
hardcore. So here's my first spreadsheet. So this is the 23 characters in the game, and
Oh,
20
the NPCs. I'm gonna go.
the
You don't. You can't have 23
no
characters. There's
the
only one character.
this is all the NPCs, and all of the NPCs, as you talk to them, they have little drama and intrigue. They have little quests that they give you, not a lot of that, but then they also have a gift system where you're building up influence with them. And as your influence increases, they ask you for maybe like a rare gift. And once you get a rare gift, if you unlock it long enough, a subset of them are romanceable even. So that's very Stardew Valley-ish. It's pretty interesting.
And isn't that like Animal Crossing also?
I don't think you can romance anybody in Animal Crossing. I think there is like influence in Animal Crossing.
Oh, I missed the romance part. I just was thinking of the gift part.
Yeah.
At least talking to the townspeople, I know you do
Mhm.
in Animal Crossing.
Yep, and inviting them
then-
to your island and that kind of thing.
And then how about the Sims?
Sims, well, Sims is relationship simulation. So that's definitely like even like dating, that's like dating simulation, and
Yeah,
that goes much, much further in that direction.
but there's danger in the Sims.
Right? Because you make your damn grilled cheese,
Yep.
and your grilled cheese catches you on fire. Sorry, I was yelling right into the microphone for that one. The grilled cheese. I've done this rant before about the grilled cheese. My damn character in The Sims couldn't make a stupid grilled cheese, and it was like not only catching me on fire, but then my whole kitchen. And I had to go like buy a whole new stove every time I made a grilled cheese. But no danger. You can't catch on fire in Palia. But there's fishing, and you build up your fishing skill, and you fish for rare fish. There's cooking, and there's the different kinds of cooking games. You can roast fish on a fire, but then you can get an oven and a stove and a prep station and a cutting station. So
And one of
complex
the very
recipes
first
use all of them.
one of the very first things you build is a wardrobe, and you can use the wardrobe to change your outfits and your hairdo and your look. It's kind of
And
right away.
And that's a big deal. And that's where they do have a monetization model, which is
Yeah.
cosmetics. And it's
Right.
it's only cosmetics is their monetization model. But and there's even been a little bit of controversy on that already. I gotta turn the sound off if I'm gonna open this up. I was gonna show my character. Yes, apply them. Confirm.
So while you're doing that, I'll just say when I started playing Palia was early in the alpha, and that's where I learned that I'm not the kind of person that really enjoys early stage games. I'm enjoying Palia much more this time around when it's much more polished. The map works. You
Yeah,
can see where you are.
it's much. Yeah, you get over some of that tutorial discoverability, that kind of
Right. Like
thing.
I don't get like this sense of wonder when I can't figure out how to do something. I just get annoyed.
Yes, rage.
And it comes on pretty fast too.
Seema gets rage. So here's my
I
guy,
do.
Max Gray. And then I'll show you. I
He
think
looks like a flight attendant on the Enterprise or something.
it is. Well, I didn't want like a little shorts and t-shirt goof guy. I mean,
No, I didn't want shorts either.
yeah.
Or
So,
or
oh,
a dress. I
here's-
didn't really want a dress.
so here's my little. You get a plot of land as soon as you sort of start the game, and in your plot of land, you then get to place your house. You get to build a garden. You got to build up, and you got to get a bunch of money. But like all of these crafting stations, so this is pretty advanced. What I have, I haven't expanded my house because that's all cosmetic, but all of the like progression pieces, I've I've gone hard. Oh, my apple tree! Look, there's my apple tree. It's sprouted up. I think it even gets bigger than that, but that's like a big deal. See my apple tree. I'm so happy.
It's lovely.
And then
I
I've
like
got
it.
like all these seed creators, and these make bait for fishing. And I've got like the forge and the wood cutting and the
This really, really reminds me of you showing off your stuff in Valheim. It doesn't look like it, but I mean, just this is giving me
yeah. And that's why I get that
memories.
survival vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely.
So I've made a couple things. Ooh, this was a trophy that I got for hunting all of the deer creatures. I forgot what they're called, but that was a rare trophy that I won. But a bunch
That's
of you
pretty.
build your own
Yeah.
storage. You do. Oh, I got one more box to upgrade. Why didn't I upgrade that last box? Because you got to upgrade your storage. You got to upgrade your backpack. You can even plant this tree. These two trees I planted. I went and hunted seeds down. So yeah, so that's the game. We've been playing it. I've been having a bunch of fun. I don't expect to sort of like be in it hardcore for very much longer. I think it'll be something that I slowly do over time because I'm going so hardcore ridiculously that I'm gonna exhaust the content.
Right. Right. Which I tend to do the opposite, where I do a slow burn on it, and then like a year later, I'm still playing it.
Which is the way this will work really well for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's the way
Yeah.
this should be played.
I might continue. Like right now, I'm at a stage where I'm still going around talking to all the townspeople and doing tasks for them. Actually, you probably never get out of that stage, right? You're probably always doing tasks for them.
They do cap out at friendship level 4. So I don't know what happens after friendship level 4. Every time you give them a gift, though, you get a bit of renown, and you want that renown still for a little while. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to
See,
see.
what I've been doing is when I see that I get a little bit of renown, I just go, yeah, I'll think about that later.
Well, it caps at 1,000, so make sure you spend it before then,
Well,
and spend
yeah.
it at the Phoenix Shrine. So there you go.
Okay.
Ask me. Jump in our
Will
Discord
you
if you want all the
make
pro
me
tips.
a glider, please?
Oh, I can give you the mats for the glider if you want, and then you just
I
go talk
have
to
to
little
make it. I
Tinker
have to get
Girl.
1,000 little round things before I can buy any schematics or however many it is.
Yeah, but
100 or whatever.
no, you just need to go talk to the girl if you and bring her the wood and the silk and that kind of stuff, and or
She
the
doesn't
fabric.
want to sell you a schematic for 100 little round things.
No, I think the glider is a quest.
Yeah, Forrester in Corborn. Just that he would just tidy up the initial base. Next day, he had a castle.
Okay.
Right, when we were watching the trailer of Palia and they showed this like multi-level house with like 6 wings. I'm like, wow, is that your house? I would not be shocked.
I don't know if you remember when we were doing yeah, here, I have a picture of our oh yeah, this is this is what I built the next day in Corborn. Uh Same with Valheim. I don't know if you remember what I built in Valheim, but I built a castle in Valheim when there was a few of us playing. Because I thought that was cool.
And you built giant things in
Any game where you can build things that
right.
I
What
like
was
to
that game though?
build
Oh,
things.
Landmark. Why can I never remember
Yes.
Landmark?
Oh, I
The word.
built I built Isengard.
Yeah, that's right.
I built
Right,
a
Isengard.
scale, 2 scale Isengard. You could like go up in it, and when you climbed up in it, you were the same size as Saruman was when he was like looking off the balcony at Isengard.
And
I
I was like,
built
which end of the axe
Isengard.
do I hold to chop down trees? And
Scale.
he's like, look, I built
Ah,
Isengard.
it was a voxel. Landmark was a voxel game, and I built Isengard. Oh, that was a time. That was a moment. So yeah, that's Palia.
I like the voxel thing.
All right. So while I queue up the next thing that we're going to talk about, well, I'm just going to be talking at you. Why don't you tell me what you've been doing? What else you've been doing this week? Did you do some
So
classic?
yeah, so you yes, I did. Oh yes, I've been playing Classic ever since it came out. And I do have a raid team in there, and we are raiding. We're on like hiatus right now because our raid leader broke his hand.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer. So he's working on getting that back in working order. And our assistant raid leader has, and one of our healers, summer plan. Well, you know, summer is rough. So we're going to converge in the fall. That's the plan. But in the meantime, and our guild is AIE in WoW Classic is on the Horde side. But I miss playing my gnome characters. So I rolled up a couple of gnomes on the Alliance side, and I've been playing them. Well, during this period, and it's kind of interesting because on our server, Mancrick, it's completely a Horde server. Like you
Okay.
go into Stormwind, which is one of the capital Alliance cities, and you'll see like 3 people.
Hmm. And are you guys
So,
Horde or Alliance?
so the guild is Horde, and our raid team is Horde, but I've been playing on the Alliance side for fun. But it's a different kind of game because there's 0 economy, so you can't. And WoW is kind of structured so that in order to progress your crafting, you oftentimes need to get things that are made by the other professions.
Sorry. I gotta like mute these. Gotta mute these before I start them up.
What is that?
That's Baldur's Gate.
Oh.
I
So
started
anyway,
in the
yeah, that's
background.
interesting. So so it's kind of weird because it's sort of like starting from the beginning, you know, because you can't send money back. Well, you can, but it's a whole thing. But yeah, you can't buy anything. So like
Yeah,
I
that's a bummer.
yeah, it is kind of, but it's also kind of interesting. So, and that is a very, very, very slow game. So
Yeah, which it's supposed to be, and that's
right.
what
So
people
if
like
I
about it.
play in the, you know, I call it my coffee and contemplation time, is sort of like when I get up in the morning before I get productive, I'll sit down and play a little bit of WoW. That it takes forever to level up a character, just playing for a little bit every morning. So that's what I've been doing. But I do love it because I don't know, I just like the gnomes. I like the way they move. I like the way their voices sound. I like their combat animations. Yeah, and that's what I miss. And so I'm glad I'm getting a chance to play it now.
When is Wrath coming for, or the end of Wrath? I mean, what do you?
So where we are in Wrath now is we are right before the last big patch before the end of Wrath. And by Wrath I mean, if you're not a WoW player, Wrath is the X pack that we're on right now. Classic WoW came out, and then the first X pack came out, and then the third X pack, which Wrath is, Wrath Classic. The very last major patch of that will come out later this year. And then maybe we'll hear what their plans are to do after Wrath. It's very kind of controversial because after Wrath came the X-Pack Cataclysm, which generally people think of as the one that broke
Classic.
WoW.
Yeah.
So sort of like people think if you liked playing Classic and you went back to Classic, why would you want to play Classic Cataclysm when that's supposedly your anathema? But many people are nostalgic for Cataclysm. So, and I don't see, it's kind of a juggernaut for Blizzard, so I don't see why they wouldn't do a Cataclysm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what are you going to do? Because
Yeah.
isn't there's still classic servers, and then there's
Yes,
Wrath
they still
classic servers.
right. Yeah, and my thing is, I enjoyed playing Classic, but now that I'm in Wrath, I like Wrath, the rhythm of Wrath so much better. It's a little bit, all the combat's a little bit easier, so it doesn't have the same degree of tedium. So I personally don't want to go back to Classic.
Right. The hardcore servers are classic up
Yeah,
through AQ and Nax. In fact,
right.
AQ is open on the hardcore servers when they start.
Is raiding a big deal though in those hardcore servers?
Yeah.
Because I would think
No,
that would be really hard to survive,
but
like
that's
impossible to survive.
that's part of the challenge, I guess. So that's that's
Well,
a
that
thing
would
that
be a
they do.
challenge, especially since you can't buy gear.
Right. And yeah, and I don't even know how they do it.
I
They've
mean, one
gotta
article I
be
read
like
about
super
hardcore
elite.
said one of the character killers NPCs are the Defias Pillagers, which are in Westfall, which is like a level 15 to 20 zone.
Yeah.
So if they're talking about doing level 60 Nax, I can't even imagine that.
So that's interesting. Having to one shot everything and no one die.
Oh yeah, you have to seriously line of sight the casters in hardcore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I get it. I get how that could be fun to people.
Right. Yeah, of course. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people had fun with hardcore Diablo. A lot of people had tons of fun with hardcore Diablo.
Yeah.
Played it like for 1,000 hours, and hardcore got to 100, and then said, that there's no end game here. This game sucks. I'd give it a 2 out of 10. A lot of people are doing that right now, which
I mean, I think that is like a flaw in those dungeon crawler games though.
it is. It is. People expect the ARPG to entertain them endlessly for 24 hours a day forever
But
because you should. And okay, you can ask for that, but that's a tall order for anybody to try to achieve.
yeah.
And there could be flaws, but that doesn't make it a 2 out of 10, guys. Diablo 4 is
Well,
a
I mean,
very good game.
it is. I mean, but educate me here. So like when you're playing Diablo 4, do you progress your character and is there a gear grind and you get levels and all that stuff?
So right now we're into season 1. So in the base game, you progress your character up to about 50 and it goes to 100, but up to about 50 gets you through the story and finishing all of the story, which is amazing and great and worth the price of purchase just to do that, just to level one character up to 50 and play through the story. Now you've gotten your values worth. Then there's like 50 to 100 where you're upgrading your character more, you're getting all your Paragon boards filled out, which are like really complicated, like boosts to your skill tree, kind of. And you're getting gear. One of the differences in the way the gear works in Diablo 4 versus older Diablos is the gear kind of really starts to grind to a halt by about level 60. So while people think that, 60, 70, 80, I get up to level 80 and I haven't upgraded a piece of my gear since level 60, it's because it's not really designed that way. And that maybe that is a flaw. And maybe they should have designed it differently because ARPGs, you just want to be, grinding and grinding and get, higher and higher pieces, more and more gear. The way the gear really works is it's a synergy between a bunch of abilities and special affixes that make your character do amazing things. But if you get like the perfect mix of abilities and affixes and an okay set of stats on it at like level 60, that might might be your best in slot forever.
So I guess my
Makes
question
it weird.
is, in an MMO, like if you do work on your gear, I mean, let's put SWTOR to the side for a second. In WoW anyway, I'll say, in Guild Wars, maybe, in Rift for sure. As you worked on your gear, even at max level, if you got gear upgrades, then when you're out in the world doing other activities like gathering or crafting or whatever, your gear counts. Your character is more powerful out in the world and it means something. Whereas in Diablo, why are you getting,
Well,
if you finished everything, why are you getting more? How is it benefiting you to have more gear?
Well, there are higher and higher tiers of dungeons that you're going against. There is sort of
I
like an
I
ultimate
guess what
achievement at
I'm
the
saying,
end.
that's what I meant when that's a flaw of the this kind of
Yeah,
game, is sort of like it's sort of like playing, a game like a match 3 kinda game, and you just play, or Tetris, and you just play until you lose.
kind of.
Not that you're gonna lose Diablo, but at the end, and I think that's maybe why people get to a certain point in their like, when they say there's no end game, they're
Right.
saying, "Well, there's no reason for me to have done
And
everything
and
I've
my
done."
power's not growing like I would expect it to if I was going to continue to grind up to
Yeah.
100 and that kind of thing. However, now we're into season 1, and what you do with a season in Diablo is you start a new character. So you
Mhm.
start a new character, you level that character up, and there's ways to level them up more quickly. And then there's like twists in the season. This season has these hearts that you can get, which give you additional abilities and affixes and like change the game sort of. So the
Do you still
idea,
have your original character
yeah,
then,
your
or
original character you can have on the side and saved. And you can go back to it if you want to, but
but there's no reason to, right?
the point is to play the season, is to start a new character and play the season. Now people are saying the season isn't as fun as it should be, and Diablo 3 seasons were more fun. So there's plenty of criticisms that people have, and maybe it's not. Maybe the Diablo 3 seasons were more fun. They're saying we're not getting as powerful as we feel we should be, in the season, which is making it boring, which is making us not want to play the season. They and there could be very valid arguments in there. I don't think at the end of the day that should give you, the that suddenly turns one of the best ARPGs in modern history into a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because
No, I
there's a
agree.
lot of parts that go into it.
Yeah.
And everything everything was terrible when it launched. I mean, the Diablo 3 people hated it when it launched. Terribly, just didn't like it out. Now people are like, Diablo 3 was the best ever. Diablo 2 is great. So it's difficult. Okay, so this is like the devs did an apology stream. I don't. That's a rat hole. I don't want to. I don't want to address the like devs apologizing for things. I don't think devs should have to apologize for things. Are they going to get? Is every studio going to get things right every time? No, it's not. You can make some of the people happy some of the time. You can make all the people happy some of the time. Some of the people happy all the time. You can never make all the people happy all the time. For one, for two, you can make mistakes. Maybe they should make a mobile game
But
version.
there's
What? Don't
I
you have
think
phones?
there's nothing, yeah, that's a mistake. But I also think there's nothing wrong with them, any dev team saying, "Here's how we intended that to work, and it didn't work that way. So
Right. And I think
we're
that's fine.
these are the changes we're making to address that."
But
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to say, well, because the devs did, an apology stream, I'm completely justified in going on
Yeah.
Steam and giving it a 1 out of 10. So I, the devs communicating with the community and continuing to evolve the game going forward. That's what you want. So
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Palia.
should you make a mobile game? The the I even saw in a couple. Don't reread it. I reread it and I shouldn't, but I did see even like one of the comments on Reddit was like, yeah, even Diablo Immortal is even more fun than this. And Diablo Immortal was reviled
Right,
by
right.
the community.
Even I remember that,
And
yeah.
now people are like nostalgic for Diablo Immortal. It's like, no,
Or
don't.
maybe that's just the
It
biggest
is
insult they
yeah,
could think of.
exactly. And
Yeah.
these are individual voices and not, I'm sure the and if you look at the statistics, and they posted some of these statistics, like 1 billion creatures killed in Diablo, 300 million character deaths in Diablo 4 so far. They've got a couple of those stat screens
They have
up.
statistics like that in Candy Crush too.
Maybe they do. All right, so
Just saying.
let's talk about just saying. Let's talk about something else. So let's go to this for now. But then I'll also maybe even show my character. Baldur's Gate 3. So Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and this is the best game ever. by all metrics and accounts, and everyone loves this in the world. So we'll talk about we'll get into that a little bit. But it is Baldur's Gate 3 is a CRPG. And I didn't really know what I didn't know this. I knew it was an RPG. I knew what kind of game it was, but this term CRPG was kind of new to me. And CRPG is computer role-playing game. And what that means historically is take an RPG, a role-playing game, a tabletop game, and move it to the computer. And that's really, really what happens with Baldur's Gate 3 and the previous Baldur's Gates. You're playing a D&D game. There's
Right.
a DM which talks to you and narrates. You get to like one of the decision points where you're gonna like talk to a character, and the DM voice, they call it your guardian or whatever, she cuts in and she talks to you and says, you come across a scene and you see 3 characters before you. You don't know of which one is telling the truth. You know, you could make a choice here. What do you do? You know, it's very DM, almost like Matt Mercer level, like DMing going on. And then
Right.
you could say, oh, I'm going to try to scam this guy. A dice comes up on the screen. A D20 die comes up on the screen and rolls. And if you roll a 1, you fail. You fail. You rolled a nat 1 and you die, or whatever, or they attack you, or So choices matter, roles matter, and you're playing very turn-based. All the combat is turn-based. You have like a team of 4 characters that you're playing, and you move each one individually. They cast their abilities individually. Their DM, they've got all their D&D abilities, like the mage has got regular spells, and you only have these set number of spell slots, and you can only use one of each of your spell slots in a fight. And once it's used up, it's used up. And then there's cantrips we can cast over and over within the turns of the fight. So very, very D&D-ish. The brilliance is the flexibility. It's a single-player game, although you can play co-op a little bit too. But the brilliance that Larian has brought to this is the flexibility of being able to mix and match your abilities, your classes, and then the RP outlet that they give you to have choices that matter. Go romance who you want to romance, and progress the story how you want to progress it. In theory, there's something like 17,000 endings to the game, but that's only because you put 10 variables of it's on the board, and then you multiply all those variables together, and that's how you get 17,000. But by all accounts, they've done a good job in achieving their vision. So yeah, it's getting some of the highest critic scores ever. I think Metacritic is like they're the second highest or the highest Metacritic score that's ever been seen. It's like the highest game of 2023. Everybody is saying this is the best game ever, to the point, and this is some of the controversy that's interesting, to the point where a couple devs, and one person started this on Twitter. One dev put this on Twitter. It said, and it was misinterpreted, of course, but said, hey, just be aware that from a development perspective, this isn't the way that every game is going to be made these days. There was a confluence of a perfect storm of perfect stuff that Larian was able to do this amazing thing.
Yeah.
Everyone else took that. The internet took that to say,
Sour grapes.
devs are terrible. This does raise the bar. Maybe don't suck. How do you, did
Right.
you ever try not sucking? And started bashing all of these devs, and like there's, the headlines are headlines, and articles need to be written to generate emotion. But Western devs are afraid of Baldur's Gate 3, blah, blah, blah. It is not, that was not the point, and that's not what these devs are saying. They're saying, don't, when the next game comes out and it is not, all of this perfect storm of everything that Baldur's Gate 3 is, don't give it a 2 out of 10. Because do you want games to still be made? Because that's not how games still get made. Remember, these games are costing $100 million, $200 million. So you can't have Horizon Forbidden West come out and people say, well, Baldur's Gate 3 gave me 17,000 endings. You only have 2 endings. You suck. 1 out of 10. Nobody buy this. Return it. Everybody return it now. then those games won't get made. It's not the same thing. So that's all the sort of like the devs' point was was yeah, this is awesome stuff. But just be aware that this not every game can sort of be like this. So I sympathize with that point of view. Uh, no one else does. In fact, there's super highly rated. I think Games Radar or IGN just came out with their video saying, game studios do need to step up, and this is why they need to, they should be afraid, and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, all right, guys. do, do you want investors that are funding that 200 million upfront for six years to say, I see your plans are not as expansive and flexible and as brilliant as Baldur's Gate 3, so nope, no money. Your game doesn't get made. Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't get made. Star Wars Jedi Survivor doesn't get made. WoW's new survival game doesn't get made. Jedi Survivor is a great game. Is it at the level of what they've done here for Baldur's Gate and Larian, breaking the rules? No. Do you still want games like Jedi Survivor? If you do, slow your roll. Don't be rolling that 20 and your attack roll on every other game developer. Okay, rant. That's what Baldur's Gate is. What questions do you have, Seema, before I answer?
Well, I have a comment I want to make about Baldur's Gate in general, which is in my many years of playing MMOs, I've always been sort of grateful to the original Baldur's Gate, because that is where a lot of MMO players kind of came from, is Baldur's Gate and D&D and those kinds of games. And they built that world that I've gotten so much joy out of over the years. And so I'm loving that this game is so exciting and people are loving it.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. You're right. You're absolutely right. Forster in the chat room is saying they weren't motivated by money. And that may be true. They are their own publisher as well as the developer, so they're self-published, which helps. However, they can't not be motivated by money. Again, they probably spent a couple hundred. They had 400 people working on this for 6 years. So you can't not be motivated by money. You need to pay that back. You have a fiduciary
but I get that. I get that sentiment too, because this game is super complex, and you can to make things more and more complex. You do have to make a decision. It's like, how are we going to turn players away or blah blah blah? No, let's just go for it. But the goal is still to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at least to cover your cost. Now, the other thing that Larian is not doing is they don't have a cash shop. They worked really hard to put out a complete game and not have it that you had to patch it or be buggy. They didn't try to rush it out sooner so that they could make their investment back. They were in early access for 3 years. But again, that's also kind of perfect storm kind of stuff. You can't take someone's money. You can't take a publisher's money, which is the way most game companies, especially indie studios, need to work. You can't take someone's money and say, I think we need a couple more years. We're just going to sit on your money. So thanks for that. And even Baldur's Gate 3 Larian, it's being hailed as this perfect game that's, it came out perfectly. If you do a search on YouTube for frame rate issues with Baldur's Gate 3, they're very positive videos. They're framed as, here's how to tune up your frame rate. Whereas if this was like a Blizzard game, it would be like, this frame rate is terrible. Can they not, they're a AAA studio. Is this the garbage that they put out?
Will frame rate problems be the end of Blizzard?
Yeah, exactly. So they're getting some breaks here too because of the brilliance that they put into the game, and
it's timing too. Like I think you were hitting on this when you mentioned Matt Mercer. It's like there's been an upsurge in recent years in interest in D&D to begin with, so people have a familiarity with this kind of character creation and the way the cantrips versus spells work or could work, and the the storytelling and the complexity of it.
Yeah. I really didn't yet talk about what my personal feelings are on the game. Uh, I think it's fine. I fine. I I think it's well done for what it is. Do I think like all of the strategic turn-based combat and the idea that you can only use a spell once, you've got these spell slots, do I think that kind of stuff is like clunky and sort of slows down the gameplay? Do I think the idea that, if you do the right thing in a cutscene, you don't get to have an interesting fight is kind of a downside? Yeah, I mean, I got to some of these situations where, and I'm still only I'm a dozen hours in, but I got, I'm like early in the game. I want to try some things out. I've got these interesting abilities, and I come up to this situation, and there's some interesting beast, and I look at it and I go, oh well, this beast looks interesting, but it's sort of like protecting its cub. I guess I'll just walk by it. And so then I walk on by and I do what I need to do in the cave and I walk out. And then I thought, really would have been cool to have a fight with that interesting beast though, wouldn't it? No, I don't get to. I don't get to do that now. I had a cutscene where I had nodded my head and scooted on by and, tucked my tail between my legs and left. Oh, good choice. But
Well, I mean, I think you're hitting on something. You're saying it better than I did. Is that it's this style of play is not for everyone, and not everyone wants high fantasy either.
right,
So I
right.
think that, and that is why I feel like they deserve all their kudos, is because in a way, this in the overall scheme of things, this is a niche kind of game, and they went for it. They were all in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
and that's
really,
what this
really
game is
admire that.
supposed to be. And
Yeah.
they did it to the nth degree, and they did very good job at that. And I'm not a big D&D player, but this I thought it was a little ironic. This is like playing D&D without the that pesky aspect of having to actually be around other people. Isn't
Right.
that great? Not really,
Well,
but you could
that's
you
why I
could pull in other
started
players.
playing.
You could play co-op.
That's why I originally started playing MUDs. You don't have to clean the house.
So it's interesting. It is very cool. I am going to continue to play it. It's not like I don't like it. I do. One other aspect of it, and this is something that came up with the pre-show, is it's also very focused on relationships. And Larian, this was in their trailers, and this apparently is a big deal. Is like they're all about the sex in this game, to the point where you can make your character just naked. There's minor customization. It's not. There other games go into detailed customization of your of your junk. It doesn't go that far, but there is some customization of your junk, and it comes
Wow.
into play in the sex scenes apparently. And you can romance anybody and everybody apparently. Maybe not anybody or everybody, but you can even see in this trailer they have of these clips. To the point where you can be a druid. You could shapeshift into bear form, and you can have a happy fun time with your romantic partners in bear form. So that's the bear sex that I was alluding to. That was
So
in
it's
one of
not
the
like you're out
trailers.
hunting and you see a bear
You have sex with it? No.
and you're like,
No.
here are my decisions: kill it or
It's druid sex. The druid just
wait,
prefers to be in bear form.
kill it, make love to it, or marry it. You could play that game.
Marry,
What is
marry,
that thing
kill
that keeps flying? Yeah.
that worm.
It looks like no, it looks like a plunger that sticks in its head and then
Oh,
it
that's
turns
I
into
don't know.
something else.
That's Larian's logo, and it turns it into a mind flare. The mind flare is like the bad force which kicks off the game for you. The mind flare, you can see it in this clip here. It puts the mind flare tadpole into your brain, and that's how the
Oh,
game
I see.
starts.
Okay. I love that cat though. I want to know what the cat
I think you
does.
can turn into a cat. In fact, I think if you get the ability to turn into a cat, this is some of the brilliance. If there's like, you might be in a town and something might happen, and a scamp picks your pocket and runs through a little crack in the wall, and you can't get into the crack. But if you're a druid and you can shapeshift it into a cat, you could get through that crack. So on your playthrough when you are a druid, you could maybe chase it down, and then there's maybe a whole other story that evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons of that kind of stuff. You know, can you teleport yourself to the top of the wall? Well, then maybe something else happens. Can you talk your way out of this situation? Well, maybe something else good or bad happens as a result of that. That's kind of the brilliance, and it's all very well voiced. Shadowheart, I think, is the girl's name there. She's got a great voice acting that makes everybody want to date Shadowheart as a part of it. I'm not into the dating in games. Like, I'm probably gonna do the romance because I found one character that is okay in Palia. I'll probably romance somebody in here just to see how it works, but I'm not into that in these games. I don't need
Mm.
I don't need to do the. I'm not really interested. Not interested in that. I don't need the bear. Not interested in your bear form. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, thank you. I'm happy to just be friends with bear form.
See, that's a little cool touch, like Forster just said, that he helped a bard compose a song, and then when they sang it, it was like a 2-minute music video. That is cool.
Yeah. I
If you're in the mood for that.
I have a wizard companion, and you know, he was like showing. I'm not a magic user, but he showed me a little bit of magic, and he was like showing me how to do it, and I got it. And we're like in this cutscene in the camp, and then he wanted to have sex. And I had to go like, no thanks. I didn't. That's not where I thought this was going. I was just happy to like, you know, do some magic. Not that kind of magic. So that there's a whole bunch of that going on. And again, I kind of wanted to shoot my air. I'm a ranger. I want to shoot some cool arrows. All right, so that's Baldur's Gate. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how much I finish, but I played quite a bit of Baldur's Gate in the last 2 weeks as well. All right, I wanted to finish it out with another thing that you had talked about, Seema, was sort of like a left turn here. You
Yeah.
said you played this Lego Bricktales, and I looked
Yes.
into it, and it looks cool.
So I liked it because it looks super cute, and it's also a building game, and it's almost in a way more of a survival game than Palia, because I'm pretty sure you can't. Well, maybe no, maybe there's no danger. I don't know. So I've played so far just the sort of entry part. It might even be called a tutorial where you first meet your crazy uncle and you learn how to do building and all this stuff. And the building isn't freeform building like the games we've been talking about. It's more like puzzle solving so far anyway. So like you have to get from one place to another, build a bridge out of these 6 pieces, and you have to put them in a certain way or it won't work as a bridge. So it's not like here's your bridge, you can put it anywhere you want on your land. But yeah,
But as a
you can
puzzle
see,
game,
yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the trailer, at least, and yeah, it seems pretty cool and clever. I'm liking the little, the Lego games, the tactileness of a Lego game where it's like you've got Legos in your hand practically just seems great. And the
But
idea of the puzzle solving
yeah,
on top
yeah.
of it.
And
seems like a
I
great
mean,
twist.
I almost got annoyed because in the very beginning, it's like you get the directions to go down into the lab, and I'm just walking around going, I don't see a lab. I don't see any stairs. I tried to like jump on things, and they were just part of the terrain. And I'm like, I finally found the stairs, and they were inside a building that you went down, and they were very easy to find. But I got that little thing I get where I'm like, okay, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I don't see this right in my face. So I'm clearly not the audience for Baldur's Gate. Like I didn't even like
Oh, yeah.
the beginning of Elder Scrolls Online.
And there's a lot of that in Baldur's Gate. In fact, I had to
Yeah.
learn. I had a lot of learning to do to even be able to do anything.
I like,
Yeah.
and so this tutorial really laid it out. I mean, once I found the stairs down to the left.
Yeah.
which took me like, I don't know, 30 seconds. But yeah, so
One other
yeah,
thing that I liked
it's
about
super
this when
cute.
I started looking into it, and this is sort of like bringing in some of our behind the games type content, is this is done by a little indie studio named Clockstone Studio, and they're based out of Austria, and they're a small team. They're really well known for these kind of like little bridge build, puzzle build games, which is why they must have been trusted with the Lego license. They did like a Walking Dead themed bridge building, and they did a Portal, like Portal themed, must like
Mm-hmm.
co-branded bridge building puzzle thing. So they've done some good stuff, but they're real small, which is really cool. And then they're published by, so it seems like only like a dozen people or so. And then they're published by Thunderful. And Thunderful is a small publisher, and they're based out of Sweden. And they have a couple studios under them now, and they're getting bigger and bigger. They're doing some really interesting things. But I've run into Thunderful a couple times and talked to some Thunderful people at the PAXs, PAX West in particular. They had a really nice setup last year. So that was fun to see. It was fun to see the Thunderful doing an interesting thing here, being the publisher for this small indie studio and putting together a cool game like this. So good call on that. I'm going to look into it. There's a free demo that you can get on Steam. So if anybody wanted to check this one out, you can download the free demo and try it out. And then it's $30 for the full game, but this would be the kind of thing. In fact, I will do it right now. Put it on my wish list.
I mean, I'm all about Steam these days. Kind of feel like if it's not on Steam, I might not see it because
and this kind of
unless
thing,
it's
if you put it on your wish list, Steam will
Yeah.
send you a notice when it goes on
Yeah.
sale too.
When I bought
really helpful.
this, it was on sale. Yeah.
Which is cool. All right. Well, this was a little different, and we went a little long too.
It's
but I
kind of
don't know,
funny
this may be the amount of time we need for this. I don't know.
because like Steam thinks I've been playing SWTOR for like 2,000
billion
hours or
years,
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of funny whenever I look at a game over to the side, it says, "We don't know if you're going to like this game." I think they're thinking because it's nothing like Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I'm like, fair enough. I probably won't.
I was looking at this No Man's Sky, 1,200 hours. It's because it's one of those games where, and this is a bunch of the games. I'll keep it open on like a desktop, and I've done this for years because you need to be like crafting something and it takes a couple hours. You need to keep the game open, or you just like keep it up on the load screen. So yeah, I've got 1,200 hours in Baldur's Gate. I only have 840 hours in Star Wars: The Old Republic, but that's because I even resisted going to Steam for a long time.
Right. And I have Steam just running all the time.
28 hours in Baldur's Gate. But here, I just put in an hour in Baldur's Gate, not playing it. That's what I've been doing too. If you keep it up on the launcher, even these games will keep running like that. So yeah, time to wrap it up anyway. This has been a little bit of an adventure, and we're thinking hard. We're thinking hard or hardly thinking. Mac, hey Mac, hey Max. We're thinking hard. So we've been, as I said, next week is kind of our 10-year anniversary, and we may be evolving. We may be
we're
evolving a
questioning
little bit.
the wisdom of having spent 10 years doing this.
Oh, I don't think we have anything to regret, but
No.
but
No, we've enjoyed it.
yeah,
It's fun.
and we'll continue to,
for
and we're
us.
certainly going to continue to talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic, but we may
Because that's our
evolve.
game, man.
Yeah, exactly. I always have like a main and then the side thing. So the main is Star Wars: The Old Republic. Or I didn't even talk about what I was doing in Star Wars this week. Last 2 weeks, PvP, four
yeah.
weeklies. I'm getting them done every week. Got the 4 weeklies done, and continuing. I'm up to rank 10 on the PvP track. 60 days to go. We'll see. I'm only planning to go into 16, but I'm almost there.
How many hours have you spent, Plausible Denial wants to know, carrying your PC up and down the stairs?
Did it again tonight. Since I've retired from my main career, I've been going to the gym a lot, and I realized it's helping me carry the PC up and down the stairs.
That's very tangible results.
Yeah, so there, I got that going for me. But yeah, we hope you'll come along with us on this journey. We know some people that want only Star Wars content, that this may not resonate. So we'll see how that goes. We hope some of our friends, even in AIE, that play lots of games might be able to get something more out of this, not being just Star Wars: The Old Republic. We are thinking that this may be the direction we go. We might decide not. We might go back to our existing format, but we'll see. If we go that direction, we could see as early as next week, even a little bit of change of branding and maybe a little bit of a change of title. The kind of direction that we might end up going, it just seems fun. And we've been going for 10 years, and this is the kind of thing that could carry us for another 10. So that's the kind of place that's in our heads, the direction we're thinking. So
Yeah, well put.
I think that's it for today. We're going to go back and now continue to play games because that's what we apparently need to continue to do. All the feed and subscribe links for this as it continues are on newoverlords.com and YouTube/newoverlords. You can come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can follow on Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky. What's the other one? Threads.
Just start making up words now.
Look for Max the Gray. I think that's where I am on all those. Yeah. Crabapple. That new social network, Crabapple.
Yeah.
And we're on
Garbanzo.
The Garbanzo is a good one. Get on Garbanzo. Look for Max the Gray or New Overlords on a bunch of those. We're in a bunch of those places too. Definitely our Discord. That's the place where a lot of this is going to hit. And we like to chat with everyone there more than anyone else. newoverlords.com/Discord. And we'll keep you up to date in all the places. And with that, we'll talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.